Well, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour settles into Winchester, New Hampshire tonight for the Duel of the Dog 250. The second race of 3 in the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup. It's Monadnock Speedway, the high banks. And it's certainly a very tight quarter-mile bull ring. The crowd packing them in here, getting ready to see some outstanding action.
They certainly are. And, of course, this is round number 2 for these competitors, and Austin Beers has been among the shining stars in practice as the youngster. And remember, the upset from event number 1, the Granite State Derby, right here at this facility. But that's the trophy they're in search of. There is no other trophy like it. JDV Productions presents the Duel at the Dog. 250 laps at this grand quarter-mile facility. Joe, it's located on Mount Monadnock, and what a perfect setting for this afternoon's event.
Yeah, we're getting ready for qualifying for the Duel of the Dog 250 here today. All the cars will come out in reverse order of how they were practiced today. That means Austin Beers, as you noted a little earlier today, quickest car in practice. He has finished second the last 2 races here at Monadnock. He knows how to get around that racetrack, but he hasn't yet been able to score that victory.
You know, we went back to the first round of practice. Craig Lutz was the guy who shined atop the board, but in the final round, it was no other than Austin Beers. First car comes rumbling onto the racetrack. It will be the number 01, the Pine Knoll Racing Machine. Jake LaRose is the crew chief, the Farm Fuel Nutrition sponsored car for Melissa Fifield. Melissa will be the first car attempting her time at the clock.
There'll be 2 qualifying laps when they get the green flag here across the start-finish line. That'll set the starting lineup for tonight's event. We will have a redraw here again today. We'll explain that a little bit later as we get into it. But Melissa Fifield looking to put the first lap up on the scoreboard here in this Mayhew Tools pole qualifying session.
It is a time of 13.749. 13.749. Today, fastest car in the house turned a time of 11.736. Lap number 2, Melissa Fifield, will be 13.366.
Everybody back in the paddock area, Ben, earlier today, they said that this racetrack is a little bit faster than it was in May when these cars were here. Granted, that was when this pavement was brand new. It's had an opportunity to summer and weather over the past 2 months or so, and that has created a little bit more speed out on the race courses. That brings out our next competitor in the number 18 car to qualify.
It sure does. That's the Booty One Restaurant and Seafood car. Greg Gorman is the crew chief for Ken Heggie. Heggie has been a consistent supporter on the Whelen Modified Tour. Today, he said he struggled a bit earlier in practice. He said he couldn't find the right or quickest way around. We'll see what he can do. First lap on the clock, 12.428, 12.428.
Ken just 1 start shy of his 200th career Whelen Modified Tour start.
Second time on the clock, 12.419. 12.419. You know, the big story here for JDV Productions at the Duel at the Dog is to take the local competitors and put them up the stars of the Whelen Modified Tour. The guy that's on the speedway next is the number 81 machine. That, of course, is Nathan Wenzel from Granby, Mass. The 1812 auto body machine. Tell you a great story about this car. The engine in this race car was TV Tim, our television producer's engine when he competed back in 2018. Nathan Wenzel's first time on the clock. Young, talented driver, 12.371. 12.371.
That's good enough for first at the moment. Wasn't that long ago he was down here holding the checkered flag, having won in the Mad Dog Modified race earlier here tonight. Checkered flag is out for Nate Wenzel, 12.557. He goes even a little quicker there as that sets the standard here, the 3 cars that have gone so far.
Next on the speedway is car number 4. That's the Conley Company's car. And Cale Gale is, of course, the crew chief on the car. Tim Conley, an outstanding athlete, took some time off to handle his family matters and business. Of course, back then, he drove for the legendary Bob Garbarino. Tim Conley says it's a lot harder now than it was back then. Conley, very competitive guy. As he comes off turn number 4, lap number 1 will go into the record books. He moves to the top of the chart, 12.2 12.299. 12.299. That stacks up pretty much in the same bracket that he was running during practice today.
Well, Tim Conley really getting after it there on his 2 qualifying laps. You can hear the difference in how he was accelerating off the turns. 12.321 on lap number 2, so he'll stand on that opening lap time. Next car to come out onto the racetrack drives car number 54 out of Ontario, New York, the Catalano Motorsports entry for Tommy Catalano. Now, Tommy Catalano and his 3 brothers all sit inside the top 10 in the series standings, as all 3 run with us here this year. For Tommy Catalano and this group, this is not a racetrack that he is very fond of. He likes the wide open large racetracks, which he grew up on in Western New York, tracks like Lancaster and Oswego, where we'll be going here in August and September.
There is literally a fleet of Catalano cars in the paddock area wherever the Whelen Modified Tour competes. First time on the clock, a quick time of 12.152. We're getting into the 11-second bracket, and that is where the faster cars were running in practice today.
And his car looks a lot better than it did earlier in the day today. He's the first car to go quicker on lap 2, a 12.141. So Tommy Catalano now goes to the top, and that car, I think, much improved by how it looked earlier in the day today. Now, you talk about a car that we didn't think we would see here in 2024, and that is the 82, the Danny Watts Modified, retired last season. But he's back here today at Monadnock, and he's got a very familiar name behind the wheel.
Certainly does, and that is a familiar name to all of us. That is Woody Pitkat. Pitkat from Bellingham, Massachusetts now, takes over this ride. Gunsmoke Stables said he helped put it together with the efforts of Cam McDermott and a whole bunch of people from behind the scene, including Doug Dunleavy. Pitkat said, this car's been setting a while. It's going to need, well, some shaking down. Woody Pitkat moves to second. First lap time, 12.214. Will he pick it up in lap number 2? Looks a little tight, Joe, and that's not the way you want to be here at Monadnock.
Not as able to get to the gas as some of the other qualifiers so far. Woody Pitkat will stay second, 12.209, and lap number 2 is going to be a little bit better for Woody Pitkat. That'll bring up one of the relative newcomers to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, originally from Thompson, Connecticut, the 82 Services number 8 for John Michael Chenette. He was one of the teams that was impacted by some of the CrowdStrike flight outages over the past couple of days. His crew chief not able to get to the racetrack. Stephen Robinson, who is an aero engineer at General Motors, is going to call the shots. Now in modifieds and a short track like this, aerodynamics don't matter that much, but he is going to be down his crew chief here today. He's got a very talented engineer who's going to be calling the shots here
Certainly
tonight.
has. Let's see what's going to happen. He moves to the top of the charts, 12.096. He struggled a bit in practice. Off turn number 4, looks to pick up, and he does not. The last lap is 12.535. The best lap was 12.096.
He was well out of shape. Getting down into the turn 3 on the back straightaway was a little rough, and then getting off turn 4 had his hands full, did John Michael Chenette. Now, here's a driver who now calls the state of New Hampshire home. It's Kyle Ebersol in the 5. The Ebersol Excavating Incorporated machine moved up to New Hampshire early spring, late winter, as Ebersol now moving up from what was a job working on the NASCAR Next Gen car. He worked for Technique Chassis, designing some of those Next Gen cars and being one of the engineers there, but now has shifted roles and moved back up to New Hampshire. Checkered flag out for Kyle Ebersol. It's going to be a 12.218, and that's good enough for the 4th position. Just a quick announcement for everybody that's here at Monadnock Speedway. A blue Mazda located behind turn 4. New Hampshire plates 3978346. New Hampshire 3978346 needs to be moved immediately. You are blocking something that we need to be moved. So please move that blue Mazda. Turn 4.
Here's a guy that we're keeping our eyes on. He was a big winner here before in the running of the Granite State Derby. Off turn number 4, green flag comes out. The driver is Jake Johnson. Propane Plus, Lynn's Propane brings us this driver from Rehoboth, Massachusetts. Off turn number 4, white flag is out for Old Blue. It moves to the 4th position, 12.217. Little disappointing for this team. They were much quicker in practice. Second lap, let's see if he can pick it up some.
Yeah, qualifying so very much important. He'll pick it up to third. 12.203 for Jake Johnson, the winner back here in May when we started things off here with the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup. On track, the second of the three Catalano brothers, the 84 car, also from Ontario, New York, and the Catalano Motorsports entry. Tyler Catalano was 12th in practice earlier in the day today. He rolls out on track now, as he is a driver that has been running about the top 15 throughout this season, looking to see if he can get a little bit better and eke in on getting that top 10 finish he's been looking for.
During practice today, he was the third fastest, and at times even moved to the first fastest in the rookie category. White flag is out. Tyler Catalano moves up the charts, 12.121. 12.121. That puts Tyler into the number 2 position. JGVC is the crew chief on the automobile. He now sets in position number 1, a good time of 12.070.
Might be good enough for him to start inside the top 10. 10 cars have gone so far. Tyler Catalano leads John Michael Chenette, Tommy Catalano, Jake Johnson, and Woody Pitkat. It is going to be interesting to watch Jake Johnson have to drive his way through the field.
Here's another one of the hometown boys that has done good. Young and talented driver. Representing Team Monadnock. He is driving car number 43, the J&M Towing and Recovery, Hoodlock Wealth Management Central Mass Tree car. It is Matt Kimball. His dad is a former New Hampshire state champion who won that title right here at Monadnock Speedway. First time in the clock. First car into the 11s, 11.991. The Spirit of America paint job is looking racy. Off turn number 4. Second time is slower, 12.056.
They bobbled a little bit that time coming off turn number 4 to the checkered flag for Matt Kimball. But boy, that car just sounds and looks very, very steady in underneath him. That's got a car that seems to give me a sense of a strong, long-run car. That's what you're going to need tonight. And he goes to the top of the 11 cars so far.
You know, earlier today, Andy Austin was talking about the natural progression of the division. Saw him in the young guns, saw him move through the mini stocks and into the open wheels. Next is a guy who is looking very strong as well. The Charlie Performance Machine, Munz Auto, the Cam McDermott prepared car for Kyle Bonsignor. Bonsignor out of Bayshore, New York, 12th car of 21 to take time.
Second at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, racing his cousin Justin Bonsignor for the win. The last race we had was strong here in the spring, but he had a motor problem that prevented him from capitalizing on that run. Kyle Bonsignor goes second, a 12.050. This is important for them. They have averaged a 4.5 starting position over the past couple of races. It has improved them quite a bit, and he improves on lap 2. He goes to the top on the provisional Mayhew Tools pole, 11.951 for Kyle Bonsignor. Another solid qualifying lap, but will it be good enough for what they're shooting for, which is at least a top 5 qualifying position?
Next on the racetrack is car number 21, the Newtown Pools Crusher Warehousing Machine. Wannick Motorsports owns the car, and of course it is the young and talented Stephen Kopsik. Kopsik's dad, the crew chief on the automobile. Stephen is not only a pretty good driver, but he's a great individual that knows setup, fabrication, and building. Kopsik was the quickest rookie here in practice today. Stephen Kopsik on the board now. Deep into turn number 3. Had a quick race car in the second round of practice. First round moves to the top of the charts. 11.939. 11.939. Second lap, will it be quicker? Kopsik mats the gas. It is 11.865. 11.865. Comparing that to earlier times, he would be around the 7th position based on the times in practice.
Stephen Kopsik, he's got that yellow stripe on the back bumper of his number 21. He certainly today makes his second start in the Whelen Modified Tour, but he is no stranger to racing in this part of the country. Tour-type Modified's a household name. He knows what he's doing out there in a good, solid qualifying run for Stephen Kopsik. We talked about the Catalanos. Trevor Catalano, he's one of the youngest of the family, and he has been able to carry the banner all season long. He's in the 56 on track.
Certainly is. He is the quickest of the rookies. Earlier practice session, on the clock now. Had a smooth, good run in practice. Comes off the turn like a rocket. Center of the turn, mashes the gas. He moves to the top of the charts. 11.770. Trevor Catalano. Again, same story Joe talked about. Considered a rookie, but his second time is 11.755.
Very quick lap for Trevor Catalano, 1/10 of a second better than what we thought was super impressive by Stephen Kopchik. Trevor Catalano goes faster. He started on the front row based on the redraw at Riverhead Raceway earlier this season. He knows how to start up front and lead laps. Now, Matt Hirschman, this kind of race, we'll get into the strategy a little bit later, but Matt Hirschman in the 60 car, the Baker Elite Towing number 60, back on track. This is a racetrack that Matt Hirschman, it owes him one, and he wants to get back to a victory in the Whelen Modified Tour. He won at Seekonk earlier this season. Big money on track with a green flag.
No question. Matt came into the paddock area, 2 notebooks under his arm, rack and pinion replacement steering. He brought with him lap number 1. It's good enough for 4th. 11.958. 11.958 for Matt Hirschman. Mr. Smooth comes back to the stripe. Second time, about the same. 11.958 was number 1, but lap number 2 was 12.044.
One thing I noticed about Matt Hirschman was how gentle he was on those tires that he's going to start the race on. We'll come back to that a little bit later on when we go for 250 laps. You talk about drivers who would like to be able to scratch Monadnock Speedway off their bucket list of wins in the Whelen Modified Tour. Ron Silk has had great runs here. He almost got the win in May then, but he overdrew turn number 2, and the green flag is out for now. The 2-time defending series champion looking for that first track victory here tonight.
Sure is. Phil Moran's prepared the car. Of course, it's the Blue Mountain Machine and Future Homes car. Lap number 1 moves into the top 3. 11.921. The Hay Jane and Racing Machine. Ronnie Silk. Off the turn. 11.864. Good enough for second fastest behind Trevor Catalano. Stephen Kopchik setting in 3rd. Kyle Bonsignor 4th. Matt Hirschman rounding out the top 5. Up next, 17th competitor. He's pretty much a household name here at Monadnock Speedway. As we wait for that car to crest the knoll, there it is. He is a former New Hampshire state champion as well. And that, of course, the Bar Harbor Bank Machine, driven, of course, by Brian Roby out of Sunapee, New Hampshire. He's looking for the extra money, competing in all 3 of the events here for the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup. This is a very, very talented driver. Secured an impressive run at Seekonk. Technicality. Gave the win to Teddy Hodgson, but it is Roby who knows this track like the back of his hand. 6th fastest, Joe. Not what we expected. 11.987.
Comes to the checkered flag for Brian Roby, and he'll be 4th. 11.950. That continues to impress. That run earlier by Trevor Catalano, holding off drivers like Brian Roby and Ron Silk. Just 4 cars remain in qualifying. And up next, Craig Lutz.
Craig Lutz, fastest guy in the first practice. If you checked with everybody in the paddock here in Whelen Modified Tour team, they said this is the car to beat. The Riverhead Building Supply Fury Machine. Goody Racing brings us Craig Lutz, car number 46. Lutz takes the green, the black and white numeral car. This team was together, departed for a while, came back, and they are stronger than ever. Lap number 1, second fastest, 11.782.
Can he find a little bit more to be able to tackle that pole position and take it away from Trevor Catalano? Checkered flag is out for Craig Lutz. It is not going to be enough. He will stay second in 11.826, the time on his second lap. So that first lap is critical. Craig Lutz will stay 2. Trevor Catalano now down to 3 cars to win the pole today. And next out, Patrick Emerling.
Patrick Emerling. Next car on the track, the Fleetworks Incorporated car from Orchard Park, New York. In the second round of practice today, he moved up to the chart and was the quickest then. Looks strong, but this will be the test on what car number one will be able to do. Into the record book, the LFR chassis machine, white flag, Patrick Emmerling, third fastest, 11.840. Close, but will he have enough muscle to move to the top of the chart? He does. Patrick Emmerling, 11.710. Patrick Emmerling, car number one, becomes the car to beat. And incidentally, that would be the fastest time of the day, Joe, because in practice, it was Austin Beer's time of 11.736.
We expected to get faster as we race under the lights here tonight at Monadnock Speedway. Up on track to 51 from Holtzville, New York. Justin Bonsignore, green flag is out for him. Five-time winner here at Monadnock Speedway as he looks to get a victory here tonight in the Duel of the Dog 250 tonight. Just came off that big run in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs Racing over at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. A good day that day, won the Whelen Modified Tour race, and he's fourth on lap one. Checkered flag for Bonsignore across the line, 11.90, and it's going to be a fourth place qualifying effort for Justin Bonsignore.
Well, let's see if practice tells the story, because the final car that is about to come onto the racetrack is Murphy's number 64, the G&G Electrical Supply, Dell's electric machine. Sly is the crew chief, along with Ronnie Uhouse. From Northampton, Pennsylvania, car 64, Austin Beers. Beers has got to be a time of 11.710. Green is out. Down into turn number one. Smooth, steps back on the throttle. Car doesn't twitch right or left. He's back on the gas. Back to the stripe he comes. Lap number one, 11.619. Austin Beers is the fast time setter, and apparently he is happy with that situation, Joe.
Nothing else to gain. They'll wave a lazy checkered flag because Austin Beers only needed one lap, and he is able to secure the Mayhew Tools Pole Award. Austin Beers qualified on the pole, Ben, but that might not be where he starts tonight.
That is so true, because it's the wheel, well, not the wheel of fortune, it's the wheel of Whelen, and that will determine who will be starting where in our main event. Let's recap for you. Austin Beers' quickest time, 11.619. Patrick Emmerling, car number one, second fastest, 11.710. Trevor Catalano, the quickest rookie, car number 56, 7.55. And then we go to Craig Lutz, fourth fastest, rounding out the top five, Justin Bonsignore. Joe?
Ron Silk was sixth, seventh for Stephen Kopchik. Brian Roby will start eighth, qualified eighth. Kyle Bonsignore, ninth, and 10th for Matt Hirschman. Those top 10 could be part of the redraw.
Yes.
A little bit later on in the program, Andy Austin, Jesse Punch will have that for us, and we'll explain that whole deal, but they will redraw for starting position as many as 10 drivers here today. We'll see how that plays out.
And you want to, Joe, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you want to make sure you head to Autograph Alley, take a look at the wheel and how it's going to determine what that redraw will become.
Let's take a look at the bottom half of the field. 11th, Matt Kimball. Tyler Catalano was 12th. 13th for John Michael Chanette. 14th for Tommy Catalano, and 15th was Jake Johnson.
16th, Woody Pitcat. Kyle Ebersol will be 17th. Tim Conley will be 18th. Nathan Wenzel will be 19th. Ken Heggie is 20th. And Melissa Fifield will round out the top 21.
That's how they qualified for the Duel of the Dog 250. Want to welcome everybody here to Monadnock Speedway and all of our friends at Whelen Engineering, who make such a big influence on the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup and the extra $20,000 that's on the line for the drivers competing in that special Cup event here this season.
Certainly are. And of course, the first name in light sirens and safety services used throughout the world, Whelen Engineering. American made and very proud of it. We welcome all of the Whelen Engineering employees joining us here for this big night here of racing as part of the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup here from the high banks of Monadnock.
go ahead and do that. I mean, there's some drivers that are going to leave here with some cash tonight. You can leave here with some cash. You got to go get your prize in the souvenir booth.
Big bucks is on the line, and it's all to say thank you to everybody that participated. And, of course, we are just moments away from round number 2 of the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup here from Monadnock Speedway with a record-breaking crowd assembled for tonight's event. The Duel at the Dogs 250. Joe, we've been here before. We saw round number 1, but this is the one that could be the deal breaker in tonight's presentation.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line here tonight. $20,000 in extra bonus money, the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup. 3 races that'll all be run here at Monadnock. Back of the grandstand, you can see it. We did the Granite State Derby in May. Tonight, the Duel at the Dog 250, the Winchester Fair on September 21st. Those 3 races that make up the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup. It puts a little extra incentive for the drivers and the teams, but tonight, Ben, an extra twist in the plot in race number 2.
It certainly is, and that extra twist, of course, is a big incentive for the locals that compete here on a regular basis that have moved to the Whelen Modified Tour. Competitors like Brian Roby are in the hunt for the big money on the line. Wenzel joining them, and of course, the list continues to grow. We're in for a great night of racing. The atmosphere is picture perfect. The buzz in the paddock area earlier today was all about what the cars would and how they would react during the running of the event. Conditions are changing. The sun is starting to set behind the clouds, and of course behind Mount Monadnock here at the Speedway. In just a few short moments, we're going to be sending them out.
Let's set the stage for today's event. This will be a rolling start, so when they come up over the hill, they'll roll for a couple of pace laps and be ready to go. Track work underway, but let's set the stage for what we have here tonight. Now, 250 laps, the longest race that has been run under the Whelen Modified Tour banner. This is the 18th Whelen Modified Tour race here at Monadnock Speedway. Now, they will have the opportunity to change tires here tonight. There's a pit road assembled back over behind turns 1 and 2. They can take 1 tire under a caution period, and that's going to be pretty exciting to see how that plays out and what the strategy will be.
It certainly will be. And for those of you that are watching on Flow, you've got a peek right now behind the scenes. That's the area where this temporary pit road is being set up for these competitors. They will work their way in. And again, as Joe had mentioned, 1 tire per visit. That's the best way that we can explain it.
Now, here at Monadnock Speedway, there is no infield pit road.
Not at all.
And because of that, these will be a cold pit road or a non-competitive pit stop. So as you come down pit road, if you choose to, and you don't have to.
That is correct.
But if you choose to come down pit road under caution, you have to still stay on the lead lap as normal. But down on pit lane, you will come off of pit road the way you went on pit road.
That is correct.
And that's really a safety thing. Because there's no true pit road here at this racetrack, it keeps everybody safe. They can come back out onto the racetrack, be patient and cautious as they do so while they get their service. The question is when they take those tires. So, Ben, NASCAR has put a rule in place that would force a competition caution, so to speak, that would give teams time to get that work done. And that'll happen sometime between lap 90 and lap 140.
That's correct.
The first caution that takes place during that period of time, the pace car will slow down enough so the entire field can get in there and get their tire. So the opportunity will be there. The question is when do you take it, or do you take it?
Correct.
And do you try to go the whole way without a pit stop?
In addition to that, where do you put that tire on the car? That's going to be a key ingredient as well. So here at this speedway, you enter the paddock or pit area down in turn number 1. It's literally got a live ramp area that heads you down to the pits. You come back onto the racetrack coming off turn number 2, and that's where all of this seems to take its play as we, again, put things together to get everything back up to speed. You know, we talk about history of this event. There's a lot of history at this racetrack, and this is the 18th time, as Joe had mentioned before, that the Whelen Modified Tour has visited the high banks of Monadnock. It all began in 1986 when Kenny Bouchard was the first winner overall. But then you looked at the list of winners, Joe. Pretty impressive. Mr. Excitement, Jim Spencer, won in 87. Mike Stefanik in 88. Reggie Ruggiero in 89. and even Jamie Tomaino visited Victory Lane here in 1990. Then there was a huge gap, Joe, and what happened next?
20 years later, we came back. The late Ted Christopher won. Todd Szegedy is a winner here. Cup Series star Ryan Preece has won. Timmy Solomito, Doug Kobe, a 2-times winner, and Justin Bonsignore, a 5-time winner, and most recently making his very first Whelen Modified Tour victory, driving Old Blue. The first time that car had won in 7 years. Jake Johnson won the event here in May. Now, Jake Johnson's going to have his work cut out for him. He will start back in the 15th position here today. It'll be interesting to see how he can navigate through the field as he rolls out. Now, earlier today, we had the redraw, and it was Austin Beers who won the Mayhew Tool Pole Award, but like Matt Hirschman did at Seekonk, he drew poorly in the redraw. He will start 8th. The tables are reversed. Matt Hirschman goes from 10th to on the redraw starting 2nd.
He does. So it has flip-flopped around, and again, as we said before, there is in excess of $85,000 in posted awards on the line for this event, and of course it's 250 laps. That interprets into 62.50 miles. And you might not think that's a long way when you're driving on the street here, but for these competitors, it is a long way to go here at this racetrack. We have went green to checker before. You remember it was Justin Bonsignore who led each and every circuit in a green to checker finish, which is very rare at any racetrack, but even more rare at what they used to refer to as a bull ring. Now you're looking at the field of cars. There's the 21 of Stephen Kopczyk among the quicker cars for the rookies in practice. Next to him is Brian Roby, and there's the 60. This is the yellow and red machine, and that, of course, the Baker Elite machine, and that, of course, is Matt Hirschman. That's what you're looking at there, and that car, of course, had some success here, but it wasn't able to close the deal the way Matt wanted to close the deal. And, Joe, we've talked about it so many times before. I watched Matt Hirschman walk into the paddock area. He had 2 notebooks under each arm, and he was carrying what they call a rack and pinion steering for the cars. He was focused. He worked his way directly down to the paddock area, and he immediately started his quest for today's event. So as we can say, this story is pretty unique in the fact that everybody has been here at least once, the majority of the field. That was the Granite State Derby way back on May 4th.
Absolutely. Getting back to Matt Hirschman, he said to me earlier in the day today, he says this format with the one tire that you can change in the competition caution, how this will all play out, he says it becomes a real wild card in the series. He said, and you've got to be careful because this is a race where if your strategy is good, you can win the race by timing it and having the fastest car at the right time. But he said, you can go out there and lead 150 laps tonight. That doesn't guarantee victory.
It does not.
There's anybody who's good at strategy. The best at strategy is a driver of that car number 60, Matt Hirschman.
It certainly is the story. Now, another competitor in this field is, of course, the 16 machine, defending champion. We can hear things fired up, and the cars are starting to move onto the racetrack. Here's Joe Koss.
They will align themselves based on the redraw. Austin Beers comes out onto the racetrack first, but he will get back in line, back in the 8th position. We'll do a couple of pace laps. It'll be a rolling start here tonight for the Duel of the Dog 250. And once they align themselves, we'll go ahead and get into that starting lineup. The field comes up over the hill. A beautiful night in what has been just sweltering heat throughout Northeast, throughout the country here. And it's cooled down enough just in time for the modifieds to turn the heat back up again.
You sure are. And, of course, we just looked at the weather. It is 75 degrees as the sun is setting on Mount Monadnock, and we're ready for an incredible night of competition. This, of course, the oldest division in NASCAR, the men and women of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. You can see those cars rumbling in the paddock area, heading on to the racetrack. They'll readjust the lineup. Jimmy Wilson is the man in charge with his very qualified staff of NASCAR officials getting ready to do battle. Josh Venata has been a gracious host for these competitors. JDV Productions presenting this, the second stop. And it's all been brought to the high banks of Monadnock in association with Whelen Engineering, first name in light sirens and safety services used throughout the world. Whelen Engineering, American-made and proud of it. And this is Americans' Modified Division, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
And those Whelen Engineering lights illuminating this Monadnock Speedway here in Winchester, New Hampshire, as Whelen manufactured in America, the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup, that extra bonus money, and that's why drivers like Matt Hirschman, Brian Roby, Nate Wenzel, Matt Kimball run this race. So they're yet to get aligned into their starting lineup, but we will go ahead and introduce to you the way that they will roll off here today. The Riverhead Building Supply, number 46, Craig Lutz will start first from Millard Place, New York. Big money, Matt Hirschman, winner at Seekonk earlier this season, will start second. The Elite Towing, number 60.
Let's take a look at row number 2. Patrick Emmerling, the Fleetworks number 1, will start third on the grid. Stephen Kopsick, the first rookie driver, the Newtown Pools, will start in the 21 car in position number 4.
Row number 3, 8th in points for Trevor Catalano out of Ontario, New York, the Catalano Motorsports, number 56. Justin Bonsignor, he's a 5-time winner here at Monadnock Speedway, the Phoenix and Communications Incorporated, number 51.
Let's take a look at row number 4. Brian Roby, a New Hampshire state champion. The Bar Harbor Bank Machine, the Stingers, number 25, will start in 7th. Austin Beers, the quickest guy. Well, luck of the draw changed all of that. The G&G Electrical, Dell's Electric Machine. Car 64 from Northampton, Pennsylvania, will start in the 4th row.
Starting 9th, Kyle Bonsignor from Bayshore, New York, the 22 Chalou Performance MTT Munz Auto Modified. Ron Silk, 2-time and defending series champion, Blue Mountain Machine, and Future Homes, number 16, starts 10th.
In the 11th starting spot, it'll be the J&M Towing Company Machine. That, of course, is car number 43 for Matt Kimball out of Bennington, New Hampshire. Outside of that row, car number 84, the Catalano Motorsports car from Ontario, New York, the rookie, Tyler Catalano.
John Michael Chanette will start 13th in the 82 Services, number 8. Tommy Catalano, the 54, will start 14th.
Moving now to the 8th row, 15th starting position, the winner of the first event held here, and that, of course, the Propane Plus, Lynn's Propane Trucks, number 3. Of course, from Rehoboth, Massachusetts, Jake Johnson, 16th starting position. Coming back to the tour, the Horton Avenue Material, Gunstoke Stables, number 82, Woody Pitcat.
Starting 17th, the Ebersol Excavating, number 5 for New Hampshire's Kyle Ebersol, alongside the veteran, 9-time series winner Tim Conley in the 18.
Let's take a look at the 10th row, 19th starting position, a young gun, 1812, Peyton Auto Body, number 81, Nathan Wenzel, Granby, Mass. Then Melissa Fifield, starting back in the 20th position, the Farm Fueled Nutrition's car.
Field has gotten the 2-to-go signal. Let's quickly check in on pit road and Jesse Punch.
Guys, I talked to Austin Beers before the race, and he was incredibly confident, understandably so. He's had a strong day already, fastest in qualifying and fastest in practice. He tells me racing here at Monadnock this year is completely different with the repave that they did in the offseason. He said there's other guys in the field that have much more experience, more wins, but we all have the same size notebook about this new surface. So he feels the playing field has been pretty much leveled. And after finishing second here back in May, he's chasing win number 1 of the season tonight.
Thank you, Jesse. The field is in turn 3, ready to see the green flag of the Duel of the Dog 250 at Monadnock Speedway. Atop the flag stand from Whelen, Eve Appel will throw the green flag, and we are underway at Monadnock.
The green is out, and from the high banks of Monadnock, down the back straightaway to lead lap number 1, Craig Lutz, who was the quickest car in the first round of practice, will set the pace. Already a side-by-side battle, Joe, and that's for position number 3. Stephen Kopsick taps on the back bumper of the 60. Hirschman guards second. They're side-by-side for third.
Nearly sub-12-second laps here at Monadnock Speedway. Very, very tight quarter-mile bull ring, and they are certainly going to use every bit of this banking as the race goes on. New asphalt that was laid down here before the season began. Only the second Whelen Modified Tour race on it, Ben. The drivers said that as the race went on, there'll be a lot of grip, and they felt that this racetrack was a lot faster here today in July than it was in May.
You know, you looked at the modifieds that run here at this racetrack. Their times have dipped into the low 12s. These cars were running in the 11s. Let's go back to the front pack of cars, and it appears that car number 16, all of a sudden, Ronnie Silk got a little bit loose on the last circuit by. He runs in the back bumper of Catalano. But back up front, Lust is still the leader, 6 laps and counting.
It's not surprising to see these cars run the extreme inside lane early in the run, but as the race goes on, you can see how the racetrack and the rubber is a little bit wider. Expect that outside lane to come the deeper we get into this run. Here's Ron Silk working the inside of Trevor Catalano. This is a battle for position on the racetrack as they work in through turns 1 and 2 for 7th and 8th. Silk to the bottom in the 16.
Silk does a good job guarding the inside lane. Catalano has to back out of it just a moment. He pulls in the tire tracks of Silk. That's the 16 car. Meanwhile, side-by-side bid. Behind him, Brian Roby, one of the hometown boys. He's already had success here at the High Bank, but not on the Whelen Modified Tour. Coming to the front, car 22, also a huge factor, is Kyle Bonsignor, now at the bottom of the top 10.
Kyle Bonsignor had a very strong run going here in May, but they had motor problems midway through. They really didn't have an opportunity to get the finish that they had hoped for. He's looking good here in the early stages. Matt Kimball is another one of the favorite local drivers. When we watched him in qualifying earlier today, Ben, his car looked like it was going to be very smooth, very stable over the long run. We'll see how he does when we get deeper into this run.
Well, he knows this track. He started racing in the Young Guns division, worked up through the mini stock division, and he's had success wherever he's went. His father is a former New Hampshire state champion as well. This is the kid next door. He is a lumberjack by trade, and he is a hard worker. This is his dream, to win in front of the home crowd here at Monadnock.
And not a regular on the Whelen Modified Tour, but I don't think a good run from him would surprise many people here at this racetrack. So Matt Kimball, one of the drivers that's local to keep an eye on, is everybody works around the lap automobile of Melissa Fifield down to the inside. Now there's the 82 car of Woody Pitkat. Ben, we didn't think that we were ever going to see that car again in the Whelen Modified Tour, yet here it is.
Interestingly enough, this car was for sale. And, of course, the owner said didn't have a lot of bidders on it. The car was setting. It was literally catching moths and everything else that you'd put on an old race car that was setting behind the garage. They took it out, put it together, and Danny Watts has got a good race car. Doug Dunleavy and Gunsmoke Stables have been a part of that. Back up front, it appears the 4 car is off the pace for Tim Conley. That car drops to the inside. Conley has a problem and pulls to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, it's tough to get off the racetrack here when you're stuck on the bottom. So Conley just brings that car to the inside. That'll be enough for the caution, the first caution of the day, and it comes out on lap number 19. Tim Conley's car was slow to the bottom. He could not get up to the high groove as the conveyor belt of cars were going. You see the left front tire there, Ben. It's laid over in the wrong direction there. It seems as though he might have some suspension problems there on the left front.
It certainly does. Then if you look to the right front, you'll saw some steam coming off that tire as well. We're not sure what the story is there. Tim Conley, an outstanding athlete in his own right, took a lot of time off from competing in racing, decided to come back, him and his wife. His wife bought him a race car, and he bought him a car that Bob Garbarino previously had owned. That was the start. Then he got the bug again, and now his race team are looking at the number 4 car. It appears, you can see it looks like some fluid, perhaps beneath it. You can see a crew member taking the taste test and what that fluid might be from underneath the machine. So a heartbreaking situation. They have lost a couple of engines this season already, and this is not the way that they wanted to start things.
Well, I can tell you that is hot as the steam comes out from underneath it as they tested that fluid to see exactly what it was. So probably not suspension problems on the 4 car, but indeed something wrong mechanically for Tim Conley. So a tough break for him. Your point around the engine problems that they had earlier in the season. Now, pit road is open. They released the cars here along the start-finish line.
There's the first
Tyler
car to take a visit.
will be the first car to come down pit road. Now, remember, these are going to be non-competitive pit stops as the race goes on here, as the pit road has stalls on both the right and left. And then it loops around where Tyler is driving around the building in the back, and then comes back on through the other side of the Whelen Modified Tour garage where there's another row of pit stops. And you can see all the photographers and media members running over to catch those pit stalls. Jessie is on her way to see what's going on with the 84 car of Tyler Catalano.
Another car that looks to be moving around a bit is Melissa Fifield's machine. We're going to see if that car is going to be, I think, the recipient of the lucky dog. And now coming back out, the Catalano race car. They've made their adjustments and heading back over the hill.
And this is key, right? So Tyler Catalano comes back out onto the racetrack in time to stay on the lead lap as he rolls up onto the racetrack. So a little bit different here because of that pit stop. They release the cars at the start-finish line, and they rejoin on the back straightaway and then can come back around to the tail end of the field just by the way it's set up. And that was explained to the drivers in the drivers' meeting earlier today.
Interestingly enough, when they explained it to the drivers literally grasped it first time around. There was no big talk of what was wrong with the situation or how it would work to the advantage. And in this case, it's pretty much working to the advantage. 24-lap show up on the big board here. You're looking at the leader, Craig Lutz, car number 46. Lutz, who started in position number 1. First practice of the day, that was the quickest car right out of the box. When you talk to individuals watching the Whelen Modified Tour teams, they all said after the first practice, that could be the car to beat. Time will tell in that situation.
Craig Lutz and his team on a little bit of a slide lately over the past couple of races after a strong start. And now with them starting up on the front row, trying to take advantage of that redraw position to put that 46 up front. We're set for the first restart of the evening. Craig Lutz in the 46 to the inside. Matt Hirschman in the red and yellow number 60 up top. Green flag from Sean Houlihan atop the flag stand, and Craig Lutz quickly clears Matt Hirschman in turn 1 and 2. Everybody else stacked up 2 by 2 in the turn street as they head into turn 3.
No question about it. Stephen Kopsick tries to guard that third position. While he is guarding the third spot, all of a sudden Patrick Emmerling, the Fleet Service Machine, car number 1, the upstate New York driver. Oh, Woody Pitcat does the slide for life up the hill with car number 82. Somehow he gathered it back up front. Bid for the third position. Joe Emmerling is hung out to dry. Kopsick takes over the spot, but it's short-lived.
Stephen Kopsick, just his second Whelen Modified Tour start, but no stranger to Tour-Type Modifieds. He's well known as a crew chief, a winning crew chief in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Muscles his way underneath Patrick Emmerling, the third.
Trouble.
But it is Kyle Bonsignor who has gone around off turn number 4 to bring us under our second caution here on lap 30.
So the number 22 goes around, gets it fired back up. Caution comes out. 31 now clicks off on the board, and we'll see who's going to take advantage of this. Car number 22, of course, that car.
It's been a tough night for them. They were one of the teams that was based out of North Carolina. That's where Kyle Bonsignor lives now. But they got stuck in part of the airline delays. He did not get to New Hampshire until 3:30 in the morning. They got to the hotel at 4:30, took a quick snooze before coming over to the racetrack here today. We'll take another look at what happened. He was inside the top 10 as he goes around off turn 4.
Yep, back end snapped around. We're not sure from that angle if there was any contact at all, but car number 22, Cam McDermott, prepares that car. Also prepares the number 8 car for Woody Pitcat. Also prepares Doug Dunleavy's car, and his dad is instrumental in helping with that operation, all of those operations as well. So it's a real family deal, and this guy's got a ton of talent. It's just a matter of time before he is one of the breakthrough players in the Whelen Modified Tour.
They had a lot of momentum coming in second at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Very optimistic and positive about their car. But remember, this is a race that I think is going to have a lot of different strategy play, and I don't think that just by coming down pit road now that they can count their day over yet. There's still plenty of opportunity for this team to recover here early on in the race.
Correct. 2 cars in. Catalano is 1. And then, of course, the other car in is Kyle Bonsignor. You can see them jacking up the Bonsignor machine.
So this will be one of the first cars to take tires outside of Tyler Catalano, who had his car up on jacks earlier in the day today.
And interestingly enough, we talked about the choice in what part of the race car, whether it would be right side, whether it would be fronts, whether it be rears, whether it be left sides. And we just saw a sneak peek of their strategy. But was that strategy due to the fact that they were a car that brought out the caution?
Well, why would they be changing a left rear tire? You would think that typically you'd lean on that right rear tire. Well, here's why. The right side tires here this weekend are much more hard compound. The left side tires are softer, so when they came off in practice, it was the left sides that were showing more wear. Now, that's normally what you would think.
It's very, very rare.
It's based on the tire compound. I would expect the cars that come down pit road, more often than not, the first tire they're going to take is actually going to be a left rear tire.
I agree with you. Talking with everybody as we had the opportunity to do, that was the story. Let's go down to Jesse. Jesse.
22 of Kyle Bonsignor involved in that last incident there. Doesn't look like a lot of damage to that race car. Team brought him down pit road and changed that left rear tire. Kyle coming off a career best finish last race at Loudon, battling his cousin for the win there, finished second to Justin. He's hoping to have another strong run tonight to continue the momentum.
So he will rejoin the race, and he is shown well deep in the field here at this point for Kyle Bonsignor in that 22. He's got some work to do. We'll re-rack him at the front of the field. 36 laps of the 250 in the record book. Craig Lutz on the bottom. Matt Hirschman is there. Stephen Kopchik, Patrick Emmerling, Justin Bonsignor, Ron Silk. Your top six as they roll through turns 3 and 4 and come up to speed. Green lights go on, and the green flag waves as they come through, and it's Craig Lutz. Very good and very efficient on those starts. He clears Hirschman by 2 car lengths.
He certainly does. The story now becomes a story for second. Hirschman working that upper groove. Nobody's really been able to stick out there so far, but we are only 38 laps into this event. Side-by-side bid for position number 2. Stephen Kopsik takes it in deep, off the turn. Matt Hirschman trying to dig on the outside. Another big mover is Ronnie Silk. Car number 16. You see it to the left of your screen, working its way around to the outside of Patrick Emmerling.
We knew the outside lane was going to start to come in, and little by little you see Hirschman get the better of Stephen Kopchik on the outside. Same for Ron Silk as he gets by Patrick Emmerling around the outside. So that outside line is going to be something that once a couple of drivers and spotters see that, they'll tell them, hey, you see that outside, it's starting to come in.
And I think Ronnie Silk is one of those drivers that has got that message. He's all of a sudden glued to the back bumper of Stephen Kopsik. Battle you're looking at is a battle between the 21 and the 16 car. Meanwhile, further back, the youngster from right down the street here, Matt Kimball, car number 43, is up to the top 10. Kimball works his magic there. Another young talent, Austin Beers, directly in front of him.
Now, Austin Beers has not really made that much progress after having to go back, winning the pole, and then falling back. Here's a great battle here. Kyle Ebersol in the 5. The 25 is Brian Roby, who was very quick in practice earlier in the day today. We'll see if that practice speed will transition over to their late race speed. Now, this is a team that doesn't typically do races with pit stops. This way with a non-competitive pit stop could kind of work to their advantage where they can keep pace if they decide to come down pit road.
Absolutely, but this competitor has so much experience at this racetrack. He can put some of that experience to the test. He actually won the first modified event held here with this Monadnock Speedway modified division at the start of this season. Good battle right there. Meanwhile, you're looking back up front, and it appears that Lutz continues to pull away from the competition. Kopsik tries to hold off the upper groove. Here comes Ronnie Silk. Silk saw the door open, closed it. Emmerling is there with him, and here comes Justin Bonsignor.
Silk now will look underneath Stephen Kopchik in a battle for the 3rd spot. He'll make quick work of him as they come across the line. Now Patrick Emmerling trying to go underneath. Tight quarters there in turns 1 and 2 as Emmerling nearly coming together with Kopchik.
They almost touch, and of course, off the turn, Emmerling in a side-by-side field. You just looked at why they call them rub rails, because those two cars came together like two cymbals in an orchestra.
They have to work around the lap machine of Melissa Fifield. That made these cars go single file to the outside lane. You know, Stephen Kopchik is a driver who is known to be aggressive. He's not going to hold anything back, and you saw that contact between he and Patrick Emmerling. That's his style. He goes after it, and that's what he's known for.
Certainly is. Meanwhile, another side-by-side battle a little further back. All of a sudden, well, it is Melissa Fifield down mowing the grass on the bottom of the racetrack. Her car apparently has got a problem. It fires up just as the caution flag comes out. Caution number 3 comes out. It is for Melissa Fifield. Something happened there. She dropped to the inside of the racetrack, and that would bring out the caution. So we'll see who will take advantage of our visit back to the paddock area here if we have any takers in this one.
Still seems a little early for the drivers that are up front, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that we've had these shorter green flag runs here to get us started here tonight in the Duel at the Dog 250. You know, the car up front, though, has been super, super impressive. You know, we have seen the success that Craig Lutz has had on the big tracks like Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. He's had pretty decent runs at New Hampshire Motor Speedway as well. He's always been that style of driver. However, when you look at his success this season, the highlights have been the short tracks.
They certainly have.
So it's been completely different than what we have seen in the past out of Craig Lutz, and he's proving that again here tonight. Again, 22nd at New Hampshire, 19th at Seekonk. He is looking to turn his season around.
He certainly is. Now we're looking at the 64 machine. Sly Zabin prepared car with Ronnie Uhouse. It looks like Austin Beers is heading. Yes, he heads back to the pit road in the paddock area. Behind that car is the number 8 machine, John Michael Chenette, a youngster who worked in the concession area at Thompson Speedway as a kid, come from Woodstock Valley, a small farming community. They call it the quiet corner of the state of Connecticut as well. Jesse's down there on road and checking in with the 64.
64 of Austin Beers down here on pit road. That team getting under the hood. They're going to pay some attention to this race car. I mentioned earlier Austin was incredibly fast in practice and qualifying, but he's been running anywhere between 5th and 10th here, so definitely not the kind of run they wanted to have. We're going to have to see if these improvements will help this race car at all.
That's an interesting strategy call for Sly Zabin and that entire team to come down and make some adjustments here on the 64 of Austin Beers. He's going to give up a tremendous amount of track position to go from where he was running to the tail end of the field. And we have seen the risk that puts you in. All of a sudden, you're back there running in side-by-side action, have to fight and claw your way forward. The reward, though, is it going to pay off at the end of the race?
Interestingly enough, when we talked to Ronnie Uhouse, he said earlier today, Austin Beers likes to back up at the beginning of the race and then work his way back forward. He can set into a rhythm. Maybe that might be a part of the strategy. But remember, Joe, 250 circuits. The Duel at the Dogs, longer distance. So the strategy for a 150 or even a 100 all goes out the window when you're looking at an event of this type.
And what's interesting is Austin Beer said earlier today, now he's got 2 consecutive runner-up finishes here at this racetrack. He said, you know what, one of my problems of why I didn't win that race is because I was just too far back in the field.
Yes.
So for them to come down pit road now is almost counter to what their strategy was coming in, because of the fact that of the results that they had the last couple of races. They just didn't get there in time. So we'll see whether or not those adjustments are enough to make that car fast enough to drive forward.
Certainly has. And of course, Austin has a schedule. It is literally like the list for Christmas for a little youngster. It's got everything and anything on it. He's been competing on a regular basis at Stafford in the SK Modified division, driving for the Bowles family. And he said that's helping him adjust his driving styles and skill here as well.
Now, we just got an update from NASCAR officials that Austin Beers, when he was down on pit lane, has lost a lap. So Austin Beers now being shown in the 19th position, and he is 1 lap behind the race leaders.
And let's explain how that situation takes place. The reason for that is quite simple. He went to the pit area. He's supposed to make it back out, correct, Joe? And he did not. He missed it. And therefore, that puts him down 1 lap.
And so that's one of the things that will certainly hurt them. It's one thing to come down pit road and give up some track position. It's a whole other thing to have a long pit stop and all of a sudden go down 1 lap. So Austin Beers, now, we have seen a fair amount of cautions. Austin Beers right now is being shown the first car 1 lap down. The only other car out on track, Melissa Fifield, and she is right behind him. So Austin Beers, assuming the race leaders don't put anybody else down a lap, Austin Beers, if we get another caution, will be the first car lap down. Now, so far we've seen runs. They have been short. 19-lap run, an 11-lap run, in a 24-lap run. So it's possible that Austin Beers could be that first car a lap down.
Certainly is. And of course, we've only got one car that is off the racetrack from the original starting lineup of 21. Tim Conley, mechanical problems took him out. Off turn number 4, all eyes are on the start. Green flag comes back out, and it is Craig Lutz again. Inside, but look at Hirschman digging hard. And Joe, I think you're right. The outside is starting to come in, and we're seeing a sneak preview of that. But look at Ronnie Silk on the inside, car number 16 in row number 2.
I also think that Craig Lutz, his car is starting to go away a little bit. When he stepped on the gas in that restart, not as good as it was the time before, but Nat Hirschman was able to hang with him. Hirschman now settles back into second, single file the top 3. Ron Silk sits third. Emerling on a shape off turn number 2.
And to the outside of Emerling, here comes Justin Bonsignor. He is also a factor in a side-by-side battle with Steven Kopsik. Back up front. Here they are, side-by-side, bid for the 5th position. Look at Bonsignor. Couldn't complete the mission there. As Kopsik moved to the inside, and now young Matt Kimball is giving the 5-time plus winner a big run for the money.
Keep your eye on Matt Kimball. I don't think this is going to be the last that we're going to see of him tonight. We talked about how stable that car was earlier in the day today. We're now 3 runs in of about 20 laps each, 70 laps in this race with 20 lap segments. And Matt Kimball has been good. Meanwhile, the car in front of him, 5-time winner at this racetrack, Justin Bonsignor, his car is all kinds of unhappy. He is sideways up off the corner. Really see him driving that number 51. That car is not handling as well as Justin Bonsignor prefers.
It is not. He's trying to sink it in deep. Now this time he moves down to the inside of the 21 car. Back up to second. It is the 16 that quickly moves in. Ronnie Silk, who's never tasted the sweets of victory in the Modified Tour race here at the High Banks, is looking to make it his first. While the side-by-side bid continues, Matt Kimball is also making his presence known. Kimball is battling for the 6th spot on the inside of the car number 21 of Steven Kopsik.
Boy, Steven Kopsik was inside the top 3 not long ago. The handling on that 21 car has completely gone away as he has dropped backwards now, back in the 7th position, and continues to drop. Up front, though, Craig Lutz continues to lead the way. He goes around Melissa Fifield, but he looks in the rearview mirror now in the battle for the lead. Ron Silk is there, and he's starting to put the pressure on the race leader, Craig Lutz.
No question about it. Silk is moving in. The margin between first and second is starting to dwindle. It is less than .394. Silk is coming. Meanwhile, Kimball works his magic. He stays glued to the back bumper of Justin Bonsignor. Keep your eyes on the 51 and the 43 car. Those 2 cars have now worked their way into 5th and 6th spot, and they're not done yet.
And Kimball is one of the only cars that can run very, very low. Look how much lower he's running than Justin Bonsignor. As all the other cars, the handling starts to go away. They move up the racetrack. Kimball, though, has a car that turns perfectly through the center, especially in turns 1 and 2.
It certainly does. Now, when they repaved the racetrack, they took some of the old rumble sticks out of the bottom of the racetrack. When they did that, that added some extra distance to run in the very bottom. But few, with the exception of Matt Kimball, have found the magic there.
Kimball continuing to try to set Justin Bonsignor up for this pass. The question is, as we get nearer and closer to the midway point of this race, is he using up too much of his tires trying to get around Justin Bonsignor for the 5th position here, just 83 laps into this race?
He's really working that car hard. You can see tremendous, as you say. He's got great bite when he comes off, but Bonsignor continues to guard the spot lap after lap. Lutz is still the leader, but as we go back up front, Silk is right there. Lutz's car is starting to go away, Joe. You call that correct. We're looking back a little further. Watch Ronnie Silk. Watch the Lutz machine. Came off the turn the last time, loosens up just a bit, and Ronnie Silk is not there yet, but he is in striking distance. Coming up on lap traffic, Melissa Fifield, as he works their magic to the outside. Lutz goes around the lapped automobile. Ronnie Silk loses a little bit of forward bite and momentum there.
Ron Silk this year has been very good on the long runs, and it's not surprising to see as this run gets deeper in that Silk creates a lot of speed. And you see two good battles right behind them, one for third and fourth, one here for fifth and sixth, and of course this one for the race lead. Craig Lutz out in front with Ron Silk continuing to see if he can find the lane underneath or around Craig Lutz.
He made a bid for it, tries the inside lane. Ronnie Silk, door shut, no room at the end this time. Back up front, Lutz is doing everything. This is where the spotters become key. On a tight bull ring racetrack like this, the spotter is the best friend of any competitor in the field.
So Ron Silk starting to lose some ground here a little bit. You go back a little bit further in the battle for the third spot. It's heating up because Patrick Emmerling just got around the 60 car of Matt Hirschman to move into third.
Patrick Emmerling started out the season with those consistent runs in the first three races. Then all of a sudden there were some changes in the operation. Those changes seem to be working because car number one is a factor. Emmerling is up to the third position, bumping Hirschman back to 4. Justin Bonsignore is in 5, and Matt Kimball sets in position number 6. Then we've got a gap, and behind that gap is Stephen Kopsick, Trevor Catalano, and Tommy Catalano.
On the racetrack, we talked about Austin Beers coming down and making that adjustment. That car is still pretty quick, and he's got about a straightaway ahead of the cars that are the race lead. Now, this is a battle that we watch for fifth. Justin Bonsignore in the 51 car, 43 car. Matthew Kimball has settled down for a moment. Stephen Kopsick behind them, who rides in 7th. The bleeding has stopped for that team for a little bit. He has settled in. He's got good pace now, and he's actually starting to close in on these two.
Yes, he actually is doing a great job setting right there. That is working to the advantage of the car directly behind him, which is Stephen Kopsick. They go to the outside, lapped automobile. It is the number 8 car of Jeanette. But it's still continuing to be a dogfight battle for the 5th position. Bonsignore, that time Kimball got a little bit loose and out of shape. Back up front, bid for the lead. Here comes Ronnie Silk, tries the crossover. Lutz bullseyes to the inside. Wheel to wheel. This is what the Whelen Modified Tour is all about.
So 101 laps in, Ron Silk takes over the race lead here in the Duel of the Dog 250, about 25 laps shy of halfway. And look at Ron Silk has opened up the advantage already now that he's gotten ahead of Craig Lutz.
He certainly has. Once in command, second leader. Took 100 laps to get there, but Ron Silk is the leader of the pack, and he continues. Silk started in the 10th position. So long way to go to get to the front. But so far, he is the driving force up front, coming up on heavy lap traffic. Let's check a little further back in that field again and see what the battle is between, now it appears to be the 60 of Matt Hirschman, Justin Bonsignore, and Matt Kimball. Those 3 cars, Joe, the 60, 51, and the number 43.
I think one of the fastest cars on the racetrack by the stopwatch is just ahead of them, though. Patrick Emmerling about a 1/10 of a second faster than the race leader, riding in 3rd. He's got some distance to go, though. He's directly in front of this battle here with Hirschman, Justin Bonsignore, and Matt Kimball. And this is quieted down for a moment. Not too long ago they were side by side, but what's interesting to watch now is how Matt Hirschman in his car is backing up. Normally, at this point in the race, you'd see Hirschman pick him off one at a time, just like he did at Seekonk when he got the win. He had that speed as the run went on, but today it seems like it's the exact opposite.
It does seem the opposite. Car's starting to loosen up just a bit as well. Kimball continues to try to run in the tire tracks of Justin Bonsignore. You can't rattle a champion, and to rattle one that's got 5 wins on this racetrack is an amazing accomplishment all by itself. But Matt Kimball continues to apply the pressure, and it seems to be about the same margin between him and Kimball on every circuit as Bonsignore continues strong in that battle there.
Well, I think Kimball has dialed it back a little bit here. And the reason for that is we know that if there's not a caution now for this run, we're on this run between lap 90 and lap 140. If there is not a natural caution, the caution flag is going to fly at lap 140 for the competition caution. I think Matt Kimball knows that. There is no sense in using up his equipment. You can see he's not as aggressive in pushing to go get Justin Bonsignore. He's letting the race come to him, and that is part of his strategy.
It is part of the strategy. Remember, this works to the advantage of Kimball, this type of pitting at pit stops, because he doesn't have that team of tire changers, that team of individuals that could do it quick. Quickness doesn't necessarily totally count. It is truly a factor here. 150 laps up on the board. Ron Silk continues to set the pace out in front. Meanwhile, working back in the 18th position is Austin Beers. Remember, the story is there. A lap down, he's trying to make up some valuable time. And of course, a caution could change the entire complexion for him. Hirschman comes up on lap traffic now.
The tough thing for the 64 of Austin Beers is that the race leader, Ron Silk, has caught the tail end of the field, and he will start putting other cars a lap down that are ahead of Austin Beers. And in 21 laps when this caution flag comes out, Austin Beers could be trapped a lap down as a result.
Yes, absolutely. And that is certainly not the strategy that they had planned at the start of this event. Lap traffic coming up on the Wenzel machine, the 1812 Payton Auto Body car, to the inside. Wenzel already won in the modified division here at Monadnock.
We watched this battle here a little bit deeper in the field with Matt Hirschman. Steven Kopchik in the middle of this. The race leader has gone by last May's winner, Jake Johnson, and has passed him on the back straightaway.
Here we're taking a look at Austin Beers now. Meanwhile, here comes the 51. Five-time winner here at the High Banks. Justin Bonsignore moves in, picks up the spot. Who is the tail that wags the dog there? It is Matt Kimball. Kimball now gets a wheel down under Joe. He has now turned up the heat there, and he is running with Bonsignore as Hirschman is backing up.
So we get the halfway point, 125 in the Duel of the Dog 250. Justin Bonsignore now up to fourth. Matt Kimball now up to fifth as Hirschman now outside the top five for the first time here today as Ron Silk continues to race his way forward and put cars a lap down. Now, as the pit stop strategy comes in, that's a little bit of risk mitigation for Ron Silk. The fewer cars that are on the lead lap, the fewer positions he could lose if he decides to come down pit road. And if he's not too careful, he's going to catch the tail end of the field again. And that's Kyle Ebersol who's there, and also Austin Beers, who at this point could end up going 2 laps down if Ron Silk can catch the tail end of this field. He's about a half a straightaway behind him.
And those cars were running in the 13th, 14th, and 15th position Catalanos. One of the Tyler Catalano located in that spot. Things are starting to settle in just a bit. Meanwhile, we're looking at the one car as all of a sudden car number 1, Patrick Emmerling. Oh, trouble.
Front straightaway, Steven Kopchik, Trevor Catalano. Another car slides in. Kyle Ebersol goes spinning down to the bottom of the racetrack as well. The 25 of Brian Roby in it. And that will be the caution at 131 here that we were trying to keep an eye on. It came a little bit early as 4 cars involved here on the front stretch.
You're looking at the 25. Roby was able to pull away. Steven Kopchik, I hope we get a replay of that. He did an amazing move. He literally went 360, kept his foot on the gas, and continued in forward motion. Here's a look at it. Keep your eyes. There's the 21. Back end of the car snaps around, 360 degrees, drives away in the right direction.
Difficult to tell from that angle as to whether or not there was contact or if 21 just went around on his own accord, but it did bring us under the caution period. Now, this is that caution that'll happen between lap 90 and lap 140, and this is the opportunity where NASCAR is going to slow the pace car down a bit and allow these teams to come down pit road if they choose to and get that tire, so they'll have a little bit more time and more cars likely on pit lane.
Now remember, we are on lap number 133 and counting. And again, as Joe pointed out, they've slowed the pace down. And we're going to see who's going to take advantage of the situation as it looks like things are single file formation as the timing and scoring. They've got a tough job, and of course, they're doing that job exceptionally well here as they come off turn number 4.
And keep in mind, with timing and scoring, when that light turns green at the end of the front straightaway in turn 1, then pit road will be open. They're taking an extra moment here, though, because they want to make sure that the lineup is correct. It's a non-competitive, a cold pit road. So when you come in pit road, you will come out in the same position as you entered, but that doesn't mean you have to pit. So I'm curious, will somebody stay out? Will somebody roll the dice? A Kyle Bonsignor, who came in earlier, will he stay out onto the racetrack because he already got his tire earlier and gain all that track position?
So true. That could be the case. We know one thing for sure, that Austin Beers cannot do that strategy at all whatsoever. Beers is now still being shown back in the 18th position. This is, of course, all unofficial. To give you a quick rundown, Ronnie Silk, of course, the second leader of the event. Craig Lutz, the 46, is second, the early leader. Patrick Emmerling has been consistent and strong in third with the 1. Justin Bonsignor moved into fourth with the 51. And Matt Kimball, the youngster from New Hampshire that grew up here watching his dad at the High Banks, is your 5th place runner. Hirschman drops back to 6th. Kyle Bonsignor is back up to 7th. That's the car that Joe was talking about. Tommy Catalano is 8th. Stephen Kopsik was shown in 9th. And Trevor Catalano would round out the top 10.
Now, I think Jake Johnson is going to be the driver that's going to get the free pass to be able to come back on the lead lap, as he is the first car a lap down. Unofficially, as I look at it on scoring and as I look at it out on the racetrack, we'll get the official confirmation. Now, here's a guy who came out here and won the last time we were here. How different the racetrack is now. This is a race that is run at night. When we ran then, it was run 5 o'clock in the afternoon under sunny skies, very different conditions, and the track has weathered over 2 months. That 3 car not as strong as they were here in the spring.
It certainly is the case, and you can see, you're looking at the 3 car, one of the Catalano machines behind him, and the field in single file formation. We are still counting laps, but let's see what's going to be happening here.
And to get back to what we were talking about with Austin Beers, he's going to be trapped a lap down here, depending on what happens here on this round of pit stops. He can't get one back necessarily when everybody comes down pit road, but he's going to be trapped, is the 64 car of Austin Beers.
You have to wonder what happened, because he came in under caution and he lost that lap. Here they go.
So pit road is open. Lead lap cars making their way down pit road, and I don't see really anybody who's going to stay out onto the racetrack. And it gets quiet here as everybody exits the park. The pace vehicle eking around the racetrack, giving these teams time to safely change tires. And again, the cold pit road, the non-competitive pit stops are happening because of safety. And this is why this is going. Let's go down to the Ron Silk pit with Jesse Punch.
Guys, this is the pit stop this field has been looking for. There you see the 16 of Ron Silk, our leader, currently bringing it in, going to change tires here. This race back in the fall, 100 laps shorter than today's. This stop wasn't a factor, but in talking to the drivers earlier today, this is the game changer. This is the difference maker. How they perform after this stop is going to make or break it. The discussion on tires is that this compound is a little stronger, takes a little bit longer to wear in, meaning they can push the limits a little more. Almost looking at this race as 2 mini races. So as you saw, the leader, Ron Silk, changing tires and getting back out there, all these guys are going to push the limits here in the latter half of this race.
So left side tire, left rear for Ron Silk as he makes his way back out onto the racetrack. Everybody else exiting pit lane. Now they do have to stay on the lead lap. They do have to beat that pace vehicle back to the scoreboard over in turn 4, just about, off the end of the back straightaway. And if they can do that, they will remain on the lead lap. And NASCAR giving time for everybody to safely make their tire change.
Certainly has. And you know, we were talking about it early at the start of this event. The left side tires are softer than the right side tires. And therefore, left side is the tire of concern for some of the teams. And they have been adjusting and planning their strategy. And we saw a perfect example of that. The Silk team, Phil Moran, changing the left rear tire. And Jesse Punch is down there where there's a lot of left rear tire changing going on.
Well, I will tell you this. There's one easy way to dial yourself out of a Whelen Modified Tour race, and that's to change only one tire at the back of the race car. Typically, you change two because the difference in size between those two tires,
everything.
It's like a styrofoam cup. You roll it across the table, it spins one direction, and that's how these modifieds turn. So when you put a tire on, you could have a car like Ron Silk who's really, really good, and then all of a sudden you get a tire that doesn't size and doesn't grow the way you think it's going to grow, and that good race car turns into an anchor going backwards.
It sure does. It turns in and becomes suddenly evil, and that's exactly what we might see be the case. Interestingly enough, the 3-car did stay out, Joe, and of course that's the gentleman that won the Granite State Derby event here that was back on May 4th here at the High Banks, and you're looking at it, the Propane Plus machine. Directly running behind that is one of the Catalano cars, and under this, before we do the readjusting of the lineup, and also is the number 64 car.
Those are the cars that are on the tail end of the
yep.
lead lap. Jake Johnson will have the free pass. Tyler Catalano, Austin Beers at the tail end of the lead lap as we work the caution here. 142 laps in the record book, still over 100 laps to go in the Duel at the Dog 250. Remember, this is the second of 3 events in the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup put together by Josh Veneta, JDV Productions. $20,000 of purse money on the line to go after as part of this 3-race series. Now, Brian Roby in the 25 car, who was pretty strong earlier in the day today, has got his car stopped in turn number 2 as the field goes by, and that is because he lost a lap on pit road. Brian Roby will go a lap down.
And remember, he was one of the cars that was involved that brought out this caution. He kept going in forward motion, but it is going to cost him a great deal of time. Roby, as we said before, won the first modified race held here with the new asphalt at this racetrack, and is a very, very talented driver in the Maurice Enterprises car.
We've seen 4 cautions on the night. First was for Tim Conley, who had mechanical problems. We saw Kyle Bonsignor spin for our second caution, and we saw problems under the 3rd caution. Melissa Fifield, who was slow off turn 2. The most recent caution out for a 4-car incident between Stephen Kopchik, Trevor Catalano, Kyle Eversole, and Brian Roby along the front straightaway. Now,
well, you just saw they released the 3 cars. It'll head back around and pick up at the rear of the field. Catalano decides to let the 64 of Austin Beers there. You're looking at the front row. Those of you watching on Flow, it is Silk and Lutz the same way they were running, and we are now back up to speed.
Matt Kimball did not go on that start and stacked the field up behind him, but everybody's able to get through turns 1 and 2 pretty clean for the most part. Ron Silk leads away. Emmerling slides into second, and here comes big money. Matt Hirschman in the yellow, in red, number 60, looking to the inside in a battle for 3rd.
Lutz all of a sudden on the outside, digs in, but digs in hard. But it's Hirschman, yellow and red number 60 car, in to take over position number 3. Behind him, Justin Bonsignor has to back out of it. Now Bonsignor changes his line. Car number 51 will go to the outside. Can't do it. Kimball is there in position number 6.
Seems like Craig Lutz, he tries to make the outside lane work with that 46, but his car likes the bottom, and when they challenge to the top side of the racetrack, Lutz had a hard time that last time through. Up front, though, Patrick Emmerling, we saw how quick he was Before that, caution. He's going for the race lead. Emmerling to the bottom. Side by side off turn number 4 as Silk tries to hold on to the top side.
No question about it. Patrick Emmerling had a fast car in practice. Qualified well. He moves into the lead. Here comes Big Money Matt. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Hirschman moves into second. That bumps Silk, the second leader of the event, back to the 3rd position. Then let's go a little further back. Side-by-side battle for position number 5.
And that's Matt Kimball, who goes underneath a struggling now Craig Lutz, who's back in the mix. Right behind him, the 22 car of Kyle Bonsignor, his car on the charge. Remember, he was part of that second caution on lap 30 when he spun by himself.
Kyle Bonsignor, strategy of changing a tire early might work to his advantage. Back up front. All of a sudden, Silk is back in command of second position. Ron Silk puts the 16 into second, and then Matt Hirschman drops back to 3. Here comes Bonsignor.
How about Patrick Emmerling, though? 1/10 of a second faster than everybody else. They have gone to the afterburner. The lap time's much faster now after the tire change. The intensity is starting to pick up as Emmerling works around the lap traffic. Now, he's had good runs this year, but he has had little things happen. Some of his own doing, some not. But it has not given them the results they wanted. He's won 4 times on the Whelen Modified Tour. But Rick Gautreau, who owns this car, lives in California, loves modified racing, and he wanted Patrick Emmerling behind the wheel, and he's done a great job. Could tonight be the night that they can hold off Ron Silk, Matt Hirschman, and get that victory here in 2024?
You know, we talked about earlier how Patrick Emmerling is a guy who's won on the big tracks. He's won on Bristol. He wins on the half-mile tracks. He will tell you that this tight quarter mile like this one is tough for him. But today it doesn't look tough. But all of a sudden, it appears that Ron Silk has got that rhythm going. And he continues to reel in on the back bumper of Patrick Emmerling.
Bonsignor trying to put some heat on Matt Hirschman. Hirschman fired off quickly once we went back under the green flag. I don't know if he was just trying to get track position, go after the race early, but he has now fallen back a little bit. He's back in 3rd, and he's not been able to keep pace with the top 2.
Just that seemed to be the same story earlier in the long run in this event. Then let's go back to Kyle Bonsignor with the number 22 car. That car is running in the 5th position. Matt Kimball is there.
Here's Ron Silk. He set up Patrick Emmerling nicely to challenge for the race lead. He goes underneath. They come together through turn 2. Silk to the bottom. Emmerling up top, battling for the race lead at Monadnock.
Ron Silk back in by inches, but Emmerling doesn't give up. They come off the turn. Emmerling back in front. Here comes Silk, side by side. They cross the stripe. Patrick Emmerling, still the leader of the pack, but Silk is giving him a workout.
Patrick Emmerling is hungry. It's been a while since he's won on the Whelen Modified Tour. There's a long way to go, but it was 3 years at Riverhead in 2021 when Emmerling won. You could see how aggressive he is because he knows this battle, although a long way to go, this could be the battle for the win tonight.
Coming back up through heavy traffic, working their magic. And now all of a sudden, the intensity is starting to develop again between Matt Hirschman, your 3rd place car, and the 51 of Bonsignor.
They get around Nate Wenzel. Emmerling almost ran out of space on the back straightaway and got into the outside guardrail. It had to be by inches that he missed it. As he's now opened up a car length ahead, there's Matt Hirschman riding 3rd, and Justin Bonsignor, who has been quick but not the speed to go up there and contend among the top 3.
He certainly has not. He's been kind of riding it out back in that 4th position. And meanwhile, behind him, Kyle Bonsignor, he's having a problem working his way through traffic as well.
He's got lap traffic that Kyle Bonsignor works around, but he's moved into 5th, so a nice recovery for him after the pit stop. Meanwhile, sparks are flying through turns 3 and 4. Melissa Fifield was in the middle of a pack of cars. Everybody's able to continue on, and there's no harm, no foul, but Fifield continues to the inside lane, trying to get up into the groove of racetrack while everybody works around to the outside.
There's no question. Matt Hirschman in that 3rd position is really starting to string it out. Look at the margin visually between first and second now. Emmerling continues to be the big dog in this event as he sets the pace out front. Meanwhile, there is Bonsignor running in that fourth position, and he's Joe all by himself in fourth, and all of a sudden, Kyle Bonsignor, the 22, is reeling him in. Will we see a repeat of what we saw at New Hampshire, the big track, here at the quarter mile?
Yeah, we very well could. Behind them, Matt Kimball. Great run tonight by Matt Kimball. I was curious to see how his car, how his team would respond coming out of that pit stop, and it hasn't impacted his car at all. He's been running right where he's been all day, right now in the sixth position. So a good, solid run for Matt Kimball and that team. And I know they've been working really hard at this Whelen Modified Tour game over the past couple of seasons. They haven't had the luck and the success they wanted. Tonight, a banner run for them in the 43.
You know, and everybody on that team, they're the working guys. We talked about it, that Matt Kimball, he's a lumberjack by trade. And in addition to that, we've got a caution.
It's the fifth of the day. It is the 4 car of Tim Conley, who came back out onto the racetrack, was running at speed, but stops at the inside of turn 1 exactly where he stopped earlier on lap number 19 for our first caution of the night for Tim Conley.
Tim Conley can't get a break if he tries tonight, and you can see some more of the smoke coming off car number 4. So that is the car that brings out the caution. 181 of 250 are all but gone in this event.
25 car of Brian Roby will be the free pass, and will be able to get that lap back that he lost earlier in the event. So Patrick Emmerling out in front, leading the way with Ron Silk second. Before the race began, Patrick Emmerling told me, he said, I really like the way this racetrack feels. I feel like it has a lot of grip, and I like that. And when racetracks go a little bit deeper into the night, the temperature coming down, especially under the lights here in New England, you'll tend to see the grip level increases. And if he liked the feel of it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I can imagine here at this hour of the night how much he likes the grip, and you can see that in the speed of that number 1 car.
You certainly can. We should mention also that Austin Beers has moved just out of the top 10. He is in the 11th position. Jake Johnson has worked his way up to the 13th position. Tommy Catalano is in 12th. Brian Roby is 1 lap down. He would be the recipient of the lucky dog. In the 15th spot, Carl Ebersol is behind them, and Nathan Wenzel, followed by Ken Heggie, Melissa Fifield. Jeanette is out of the event, and Tim Conley, you saw the situation there. So
it'll be curious to see when they get back out of the green flag here, how quickly the top 3 fire off, because under that last restart, they all just took off very, very quickly, and there was no wasting any time. Emmerling is going to restart on the bottom, Ben, and we have seen the strength. Not quite yet. Looked like they were lining up for the restart, but seems like they're going to go another lap here.
Yep.
As Emmerling contemplating whether or not he's going to come down pit road. I think that's what was going on there. They were pulling up to the outside to see if anybody was going to come down pit road and grab another tire here with still plenty of time to make use of it.
You know, as we said before, the pit strategy is all different for an event of this type, and we're looking at some adjustments being made there, and there you can see pit road situation. The green light came on, and
the pit road's open.
And there they go.
I'll head back down to pit lane. Remember, non-competitive pit stops. You can change 1 tire. You can change any tire. You can go back to that left rear and get another one of them if you want. You can go to the right side tire. What's it going to be for some of these teams as they come down pit lane here and work their way into the paddock here at Monadnock? Around the building, back in the pit stall for the 16 car of Ron Silk, who's back on pit road, Jesse Punch.
Both leaders, Ron Silk and the number 1 Patrick Emmerling, coming down pit road, making 1 more pit stop for tire change. That 16's going to replace that right rear tire and get back out on the track as we head into the latter half of this race.
Thank you, Jesse. They get off pit road. Again, they've got time. Now, the opportunity for Austin Beers to come down pit road and get the tire that he couldn't get earlier. They'll take the right rear here. Now, everybody else had already taken a left side tire. Austin Beers will take his right rear tire. He'll go back out into the racetrack. He was 11th.
Almost was a costly situation for him, but they were able to quickly make it back out with the number 64 car. So when they realign the field, Beers is going to go back to the 11th position in the adjustment, we believe, and that's what we're looking at through our timing and scoring here at this point.
And we're going to look at the strategy here, Ben, because there's 2 cars that did not come down pit road. A couple of cars in addition to that, but there's 2 that are interesting. They're at the front of the field. The 22 car of Kyle Bonsignor, he had already come in and gotten his service. He now has the track position at the front of the field. The other car that stayed out is now being shown in the 2nd spot is Woody Pitkat in the 82 car. Ironically enough, both of those cars are prepared by Cam McDermott. Cam McDermott is the crew chief of the 22 car, but he put the 82 car together along with the old Pastriak crew. There's guys from Teddy Hodgkin's Open Modified Tour crew, guys from the 88 car that Woody Pitkat drives in another series. But these 2 cars are really prepared out of the same shop, and now they're on the same strategy. They're 1st and 2nd in the race.
They certainly are. And, of course, Woody Pitkat is another individual that has been in search of a victory here at Monadnock on the Whelen Modified Tour, and he has never been able to do it. Back driving Buzz Chu's race car was as close as he ever came during that season in the competition. So he is hungry and long overdue as well. Remember, early in this race, we saw Woody's car drift way up the racetrack. He was, heading for the farm. And all of a sudden, he gathered it back and was able to maintain and to hold on.
I was going to say it's a good thing there is a farm up in turns 3 and 4, because if not, he would have been right into the outside concrete, because he was well outside of the bounds of this racetrack in that yellow line to the outside. Pitkat's won a full-body late model race here before.
Yes, he has.
No modified races, as you has alluded to. Steve Greer, Gunsmoke Stables, have been a big contributor. Danny Watts, this car needed a rear clip. Keith Rocco worked on the race car.
Checked it, made sure it's right.
That went to Cam McDermott's shot after that.
Doug Dunleavy was going to put together an entire package for Woody Pitkat and run all of the Modified Tour events this season. Doug had other family commitments that changed all of that. So it is a group effort, and a lot of special people are behind Woody Pitkat, the talented driver. Told us a great story about when he won that late model race with the Monahan family that owned the late model. They brought 2 cars. Woody was given the backup car, did not have any time on the racetrack itself, and went on to win. And guess what? The guy who finished 2nd wasn't too happy, the owner of that car as well.
Well, you know what? He came here to win, and that's what he did. Woody Pitkat on the outside in that 82 car. And this is not the last we're going to see of him. He's going to be out here more in the Whelen Modified Tour schedule as the season goes on. The front row looks very different. Kyle Bonsignor to the bottom. Outside lane, Woody Pitkat, the former race leader. The 1 car will restart to the outside in the 4th position. But Kyle Bonsignor gets away with the race lead, but he's challenged to the outside by Pitkat, who's out in the fence one more time.
Pitkat a little bit loose coming off the turn. Pitkat goes up that hill. His Achilles heel has been turn number 4. Back up front, moving forward. Here comes Ron Silk. Trevor Catalano setting in 2nd. That time, Kyle Bonsignor slipped up the racetrack a bit.
Emmerling out of shape. He lost ground off turn number 4. He's now in the bottom half of the top 10. How about Trevor Catalano? That was the 3rd car that stayed out on the racetrack, and he is going for the race lead. Trevor Catalano under green flag conditions in turn number 2 is a new leader at Monadnock.
But here comes Ron Silk, 16 car to the inside, makes his presence known. Ron Silk is hungry. He'll move into 2nd, short-lived. Kyle Bonsignor takes it back with car number 22.
Trevor Catalano out in front now. Silk with Justin Bonsignor right behind him. Craig Lutz is there as they try to hip check Kyle Bonsignor to the outside lane and get 2nd. Silk in through for 2nd. Bonsignor now battling for 3rd.
Bonsignor works magic down low directly behind him. Lutz is there. They tag bumpers. Everybody is okay. Tap to the back bumper. Bonsignor letting Silk know he's there. Kyle Bonsignor shuffle back. He's trying to get to the bottom, but can't do it. Now he finds an opening. Kyle Bonsignor now follows Justin into contention for the third and fourth position.
So the two cousins run third and fourth. Craig Lutz back to fifth, and Trevor Catalano in the final 50 laps of this one is just trying to run away and hide. He wants green the rest of the way. Now Ron Silk is mirror driving because he's got Justin Bonsadeur right behind him, and there is no love lost. We have seen it over the past couple of seasons between the 16 and the 51, but Bonsadeur is not quite close enough to rattle the cage of Ron Silk.
No, that is definitely the case. They continue to work their magic, but no one has become a threat. And Catalano out in front, and he's developing a commanding lead. The difference between first and second is .530. So he's really there, close margin, as things start to settle in just a bit.
I think the trick for Catalano, though, is going to be lap traffic. He's not been in this position before. He's not led a race in the late stages. How does he play that with two champions right behind him vying for victory?
Meanwhile, Patrick Emily has moved into the 7th spot. Tommy Catalano working his way up to the 8th position. Matt Hirschman is in 9th, and Matt Kimball struggling at the bottom of the top 10 now.
You see Matt Hirschman, Catalano, Tommy Catalano in the 54, the 43 of Matt Kimball. This last pit stop really hurt him as he is now going backwards from where he was just outside the top 5.
Jake Johnson coming to life. He's just out of the top 10 with car number 3. Where is Austin Beers? He is back in 13th position. He just can't seem to find the opening or the luck here today. Let's head back up front. The margin was impressive, but it is starting to go away between the leader, Trevor Catalano, and of course the 16 machine of Ronnie Silk.
There's great battles all over the racetrack. Matt Hirschman trying to hold off Woody Pitkat. There you see Trevor Catalano, and he's holding Ron Silk at bay. He lost that track position when he had to go around the lap car of Melissa Fifield. There's lap cars up ahead. I think that could be the Achilles heel for Trevor Catalano. Can the young driver, can he remain calm, cool, and collected and try to find a way to get that first Whelen Modified Tour victory? Young driver is Trevor Catalano, just 17 years old, leading the way here at Monadnock.
Keep your eyes. Let's shift back to the 3rd position. Justin Bonsignore. Kyle Bonsignore has been working him over, Joe. He's making a bid. Kyle Bonsignore dive bombs down into turn 3, off 4, car number 22. Kyle Bonsignore has worked his way into the 3rd position.
Yeah, I think Justin Bonsignore just about had enough of that, and he didn't want to give up the big game, the championship, and lose too much ground to Ron Silk, who drives directly ahead. Now up front, that lap traffic starting to become a factor. Here comes Trevor Catalano to the outside of Fifield. He gets by her. Silk is there. He'll have to go to the outside of Ken Hagee next, and that'll take Trevor Catalano out of his preferred lane, which is the bottom groove of the racetrack.
Sure does. Here comes Silk. He knows his Achilles heel. When it comes to Trevor, Trevor continues to do a good job. Next target becomes the Wenzel car. Silk looks to the bottom. Trevor Catalano tries to get it down low. They squeak by. Now they've got some clear track for a while. Let's see if Silk has anything for the young and talented Trevor Catalano.
And Catalano quickly opening up 2 car lengths the advantage. And to your point, Ben, they've got at least a straightaway ahead. And the next car they will come across is going to be Tyler Catalano, his older brother. And so you'd have to think that he's not going to hold his younger brother up as he looks to get the Catalano family their first Whelen Modified Tour victory. They came close before. Tommy Catalano nearly won at Richmond, but it wasn't to be that day. Will Trevor be the guy inside of 30 laps to go? Here's Justin Bonsignore trying to hold off Patrick Emerling.
And that's a battle that's been going on for several laps. Patrick Emerling came out of the pits ablaze, and he looked like he was going to be a big factor. But then he's been forced to settle back in. Meanwhile, Trevor Catalano continues to hit his marks and maintain that impressive lead. You're looking further back. The 1 car in the 5th position, all over the back bumper. of Justin Bonsignore, the 5-time champion in the Ryan Stone prepared car. Matt Hirschman, he's come back to life. And now there's a bid. Bonsignore's car slips up. Patrick Emmerling puts the number 1 machine up a spot, and Patrick Emmerling is now among the top 4.
Emmerling grabs another spot. Can Matt Hirschman get some more as they go down into the turn? Up front, the battle for the lead intensifies. Here comes Silk. Down to the inside off turn number 4, looking for the race lead. Lap traffic up ahead. Here comes Trevor Catalano, though. Hammered out to the outside, and he holds on against the challenge of Ron Silk.
The lap car became the pick. That gave Trevor Catalano the option of taking back the lead. All of a sudden, Silk looks to get around the other Catalano machine. Dives to the bottom of the racetrack. Silk goes up around the second Catalano machine, and Ron Silk has to settle back into second, and the margin between first and second, 10 laps to go.
Silk's car is just a little bit better
laps
right now than Trevor Catalano. Catalano is there. His entire family races. His 3 brothers are in the race today. His mom races. His dad, the crew chief, as they go back into turn number 1. Silk is there, putting the pressure on the young rookie.
No question. He continues to apply that pressure each and every turn. Silk looks for some daylight. Can't find it. Pulls back in the line. Trevor Catalano turning some heads here today in search of that victory. Ronnie Silk looking to end that dry spell here at the high banks of Monadnock.
Trevor Catalano grew up running tracks at Lancaster. He's got a lot of experience there. That's a big, flat, open racetrack. It's not high banks like we have here today at Monadnock, but somehow, some way, this kid out in front, holding off the reigning and 2-time series champion with 15 laps to go. Can he do it? 12 seconds a lap, and those seconds can't quick off fast enough for Trevor Catalano.
He's dealing with lap traffic. That's not going to be an easy factor. Trevor Catalano continues to work his magic at the front of the field. Silk there, looks for an opening. Silk dives to the inside.
Catalano gave him room, and he allowed Silk to have the lane to the bottom, but Silk could not make it stick. The next challenge is going to be directly ahead. They are 2 by 2 in front of the race leaders. Trevor Catalano will have to choose wisely. One good decision or one bad decision could be the difference between the checkered flag and second.
All of a sudden, Silk's car loosened up just a bit. They're pushing these cars. They come up on Melissa Fifield again as they work their magic off the turn, down the back straightaway. Good battle at the point. No one is giving up.
They got by Fifield. 10 to go for Trevor Catalano out of Ontario, New York. Silk, you see him steady on the wheel, but he is fighting that race car coming off turn 4. You don't see that out of Trevor Catalano. That car is smooth. He runs the line he wants, and he's driving like a veteran tonight. Next car ahead is Nate Wenzel. Wenzel will ride the bottom as they come off turn number 4 and see 8 laps to go.
Countdown continues. It is still Trevor Catalano setting the pace. Silk looks to the outside this time. Doesn't work. Trying to get as much momentum as he possibly can. Heavy traffic up ahead, Joe. It's not going to be an easy victory. Trevor Catalano is still holding on.
Catalano has had good runs this season at Riverhead. He had a banner day at Richmond Raceway earlier in the season. He was in contention inside the top 5. But this is as close as he has ever come around Kyle Ebersol, who cedes to the race leaders inside of 5 laps to go now as they hit the back straightaway. Silk, he is not afraid to use the chrome board. Will he use it on the rookie to knock him out of the way and get the victory today?
He's all over him as he works his magic there. Trevor Catalano, less than 4 laps remaining in this event. Silk reels him in. Heavy traffic up ahead. Jake Johnson, next target. Trevor Catalano continuing to guard that bottom lane.
Jake Johnson does not let anybody by him easily, but they will come to the line this time by. It'll be 2 laps to go. Can Trevor Catalano do it and hold on for another half mile?
all of a sudden, Silk's car loosens up. He loses some valuable ground. Here comes the checker on the next circuit, Trevor Catalano, in search of that prestigious first Whelen Modified Tour victory.
Off turn number 4, Trevor Catalano, the teenager, is going to win at Monadnock Speedway. He's going to pick up his first career Whelen Modified Tour victory at the Duel of the Dog 250, and the entire Catalano family that has been working for this moment right here. They get it at the short track in Winchester, New Hampshire. Trevor Catalano and the Catalano family has won on the Whelen Modified Tour.
They certainly have, and it wasn't an easy victory. They fought and they earned every step of the way. Unofficially, Ronnie Silk finishing in second. Patrick Emmerling managed to finish in third. Matt Hirschman for fourth. Kyle Bonsignor for 5. Woody Pitcat for 6. Justin Bonsignor came back for 7th. And then it was Matt Kimball to finish in 8th. Tommy Catalano to finish in 9th. And Austin Beers to round out the top 10. There is a very ecstatic group heading down to congratulate. They have worked so hard, and it all pays off here today.
The brothers park at the inside of turns 1 and 2. They cheer on the youngest brother, Trevor Catalano, who drives around with that Sunoco checkered flag. Everybody thought that the Catalano family was crazy for showing up with 3 modifieds in the Whelen Modified Tour. Were they going to be able to make the commitment? Were they going to be able to continue to run 3 cars all season long? And they have proved all the doubters wrong here tonight as they have won at Monadnock Speedway, the Duel at the Dog 250. You see the excitement of the crew as they make their way across, everybody pouring onto victory lane. This is a moment that the Catalano family has been working towards for years, and now they have won on the Whelen Modified Tour.
And they've done it in convincing style. Nobody can take anything away from anybody involved with that race team and that family. Congratulations and hats off. You can see everybody is ecstatic, reaching in to congratulate the young and talented driver on an event and a victory he will never forget. And this is their day, the day that the Catalanos will own a piece of the real estate in Whelen Victory Lane from the high banks for the Duel at the Dog 250. Stop number 2. We do it all over again for the Winchester Fair event coming up on September 21st.
David Catalano, his father, the crew chief on this 56 car. His brother Tommy, who's been running the Whelen Modified Tour for many years, gave all his best equipment to his brothers. And here he is, Trevor Catalano, victorious tonight at the Duel at the Dog. Let's go to victory lane at Jesse Punch.
Catalano is a winner in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, earning career win number 1 tonight here at Monadnock. All of the Catalano family in victory lane celebrating, the entire crew. This is a big one for Trevor. A lot of emotion down here in victory lane. We know how much hard work and love into getting this family on the racetrack every week. Trevor, congratulations. Win number 1 of your career. As I just said, we know how much hard work goes into putting you out there. We know how much racing means to the Catalano family. What does this moment mean to you?
Oh, this is awesome. You know, my mom and dad, they give us everything they can to come out here and be competitive, and they've given me everything and anything that I know, and I just can't thank my parents enough. And you know, all the way from mic rods and everything, they give us everything they could, and you know, it's a whole family operation. You know, we all pick off of each other and try and give the best type of car we can give, and come out every week and be competitive. And man, this thing was on rails. You know, we took a call to stay out and try and take the track position, and I don't know how I messed up a couple times, and I thought Ronnie was going to get me, and he raced me clean, and this is just awesome. I can't believe it.
Trevor, you have the defending series champion on your tail there in those closing laps. Take me through, what was your thought process there?
Yeah, I was just trying to drive as hard as I could without messing up. You know, I I twitched down in 3 and 4 a couple times, and he got under me, and I just tried to keep him as tight as I could down in 1 and 2, and just hold him at bay. And man, I can't believe this. You know, I can't thank the series enough. NASCAR, Whelen Engineering, you know, just everyone that puts this on. This is awesome. Monadnock, everyone, this is a dream come true.
Well, Trevor, congratulations. You're officially a winner here in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Series.
Thank you. This is awesome. You know, we can't do it without all our sponsors: Rocket Performance, Power and Construction, CP Ward, FX Caprera, Nova Glass. Just this is awesome.
Trevor, congratulations. Go celebrate with the family. Trevor Catalano is a winner here tonight at Monadnock. That's 2 Whelen Modified races here so far this season and 2 first-time winners. We got one more Whelen Modified race here in September. What do you guys think? We're going to see another one?
Well, the Catalano family, Ben, came in to the race here today not fond of Monadnock Speedway. They said, we've struggled here in the past, but I think it's going to be a very different ride back to Ontario, New York here tonight.
You know, another big factor we want to point out in this is that this is the second time the first Whelen Modified Tour event was won by a first-time winner, Jake Johnson. And, of course, this time, Trevor Catalano. So 2 for 2, and we've still got number 3 just around the corner.
Ron Silk, a very strong run for him today. It tells you how good Trevor Catalano was at the end of that one if Ron Silk couldn't find a way around him. Let's go down to Jesse and hear from our second-place finisher tonight.
Ron Silk brings it home second here tonight. Ron, you were all over that bumper there in those closing laps. What more did you need to get it done?
Probably just needed to turn the center a little bit better. I would say we were basically even, so I didn't want to knock him out of the way. He did a great job. He didn't make any mistakes. I was hoping he would make one and I could get my nose under him, but congratulations to Trevor. He did a phenomenal job, and his entire team.
Still haven't picked up a win here at Monadnock. One more shot this season. Do you think this 16 team has a chance here in September?
Yeah, I think we have a shot anywhere we go, really. We've been really good both races here. You know, halfway through the race, I kind of thought we had the dominant car, but everyone got a little bit better after the stops, and second's nothing to hang your hat at.
Thanks for the time, Ron.
Thank you.
It's Ron Silk, second place here tonight.
Certainly nothing to hang your hat at, but you can tell Ron Silk wanted a little bit more. This is one of the few racetracks on the circuit that he has not been able to get to victory lane at in the Whelen Modified Tour, and man, he wanted this one tonight.
Certainly did, and of course, the car that finished in the 3rd position, what a run this team had. Again, the consistency factor has been a huge factor this season. That car and that team soon will be in the winner's circle as well.
Let's go back down to Jesse Punch.
Podium finish here for Patrick Emmerling in that number 1 car. Patrick, first year with this team. You guys are having some strong runs here. What is working now for this team?
Yeah, I just got to give it up to this whole team and Rich Cotreau and Dal and the whole team and everyone involved. I mean, we were the car to beat tonight, and you know, we had about a 10th and a half on the field, or on everyone right at the end, and just on that last restart, there was just a lot of oil up top there, and it shuffled the whole top back, and there was just no grip, and we were, you know, once we got filed out there, we were coming at the end, but just a little too late there. Yeah, I think there was just, yeah, like I said, there was someone leaking and just someone oiled up that top groove on that restart. And the top's been running good all the whole race, and just on one restart, just, I don't know, someone was leaking on it and oiled it up and got us. But, yeah, just got to give it up to the whole crew here. We had an awesome car, and if we keep running like this, we'll get them wins. So just like to thank everyone involved here.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
That's the one of Patrick Emmerling, 3rd place.
He was indeed quick, Ben, but just came up a little bit short tonight in the 3rd place. Certainly Patrick Emmerling had a car that made some noise today. So the celebration continues on down in their victory lane. Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup, race number 2 in the book. Next time we'll be here is the Winchester Fair on September 21st. Trevor Catalano and that team are going to be very excited to come back and defend their victory here in September.
They certainly are. And, of course, this was all part of the Whelen, well, the Granite State Cup. And 2 events are now into the record books, and we're heading for the 3rd and final round in this one. Hats off to JDV Productions for a job well done in the presentation of this event. There's a young race fan getting a big congratulations going out as well.
It's a collar off the trophy, the Duel at the Dog trophy, off that Bulldog. Hands it off to a race fan in the crowd. How cool is that? Trevor Catalano, his first victory, and he gives away part of the trophy to a young race fan.
He sure does, and a very unique trophy, to say the least, something that he will always remember and very deserving. Congratulations to all of the Catalano family. They're all winners, especially young Trevor here tonight.
Well, if I have to say so, this 250-lap format with a single tire change worked pretty good. That was a pretty exciting race. We had comers and goers, none less than Trevor Catalano, who got the victory here tonight. As we look ahead at the Whelen Modified Tour schedule, you come up on August 3rd, a couple of weeks off, and then they go to Lancaster Speedway, where the Catalanos have a lot of laps at.
Yes, they do.
And you'd expect them to be strong. A Wednesday night event in August at Thompson Speedway in Connecticut. Oswego, New York, Labor Day weekend at the end of August. And then as we move into now the second half of the season from here on out, a lot of big races still on the schedule to decide the 2024 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion.
It has been an incredible season so far. New names, veterans, and old names. But only one can hang their hat on being the champion in 2024 of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
Tonight, it's Trevor Catalano. It's his day here at Monadnock Speedway. He claims a victory. An outstanding crowd on hand here tonight for the Whelen Granite State Short Track Cup race number 2, the Duel at the Dog 250. It lived up to the billing. There was some drama. There was some pit stop strategy. There was a battle between a rookie and a champion. And at the end of the day, it was the young rookie, the teenager, who came out on top, victorious in the 56 car for Trevor Catalano.
Certainly was.
Join us next time from Lancaster Speedway in New York. Look forward to see you there at the Whelen Modified Tour and the return of the Modifieds here at Monadnock on September 21st. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Flow Racing.